Welcome back, guys, and today we are continuing with our SCP groups of interests. Uh, Today we're going to check out the Serpent's Hand. We've checked out a couple other ones already, and we're going to continue on till we get through the big. I'm sure there's lots of groups, but we're going to do the big ones, the main ones, the ones that I keep hearing over and over again as we go through these SCP videos. So it's going to be the Serpent's Hand. Let's go ahead and find out what's up with these guys.
Nowhere is more secure than an SCP Foundation facility. They make Fort Knox look like a revolving door with a spare key under the mat. That's why when someone or something can infiltrate without even being noticed, it's considered a major threat. And doing exactly that is what put a mysterious group of insurgents known as the Serpent's Hand on the map. But this group of interest isn't just famous for its ability to sneak into Foundation's strongholds. Like a lot of the SCP Foundation's biggest threats, from the Scarlet King to the Chaos Insurgency, the roots of the Serpent's Hand are closer than they think. The Foundation's first official brush with the Serpent's Hand came shortly after they contained SCP-268, an Irish tweed wool newsboy cap believed to have been created sometime in the 1800s. The only identifying mark on the cap is a label with the following phrase written in Middle Irish: "The garden is the serpent's place," initially believed to be a reference to the serpent in the biblical Garden of Eden. This Euclid-class SCP is a double-edged sword. It gives the user a useful supernatural ability at a terrifying supernatural cost. Anyone wearing the cap appears so utterly unremarkable that nobody is able to take notice of them. And when they leave a person's general area of awareness, they're quickly forgotten. The user isn't invisible, but they might as well be. If you're a person whose line of work involves sneaking and subterfuge, or if you're just a major introvert, this sounds like a dream come true. However, like a lot of anomalies, this dream can quickly become.
Okay, that's dope. Before they get into the downside of the hat, that's pretty cool though. A hat that you put on and it doesn't make you invisible. You're still there, you know, but apparently you just become of no interest to where you're there, but people don't observe you. Apparently no one will pay attention to you. Okay, that's pretty cool. I can definitely see how that could be of use.
A nightmare. If someone wears the cap repeatedly, or for too long at one time, they risk the effects of the cap becoming permanent, even when it's removed. You can become a forgotten person, impossible to notice and remember, even to those closest to you. Why anyone would want such a fate is a mystery.
Okay. All right. So on one hand, it doesn't make you invisible, but it makes you unperceptible is also the wrong word for it. Uh, hmm. Yeah, people just don't acknowledge. There we go. They don't acknowledge your presence. And I guess it does kind of circumvent the issue you would have with invisibility is if you put something on and it just made you completely invisible, then you still run the problem of running into people, or running into locked doors or things like that. But with this cap on, you're not invisible, so people still technically see you, and but they don't want to like interact with you or really acknowledge your presence. But that would still mean that people would, get out of your way or walk around you. Because if you're invisible, then people would just be running into you all the time. But with this hat, it kind of, because you can walk right by people. Like you ever go to a really busy place, you'll walk by hundreds of people and never pay attention to who they are or what they're doing, but you'll just walk around them. And that's kind of what this hat seems to do, which I kind of find fascinating because it's not invisibility, It's just people refuse to acknowledge that you're around, which is, and it's a passive thing too. So it's not like, oh, I'm ignoring you. It's just a passive effect. That's pretty cool. Now, the fact that if you wear it too long and that effect becomes permanent is a serious downside. So we'll see. I'm sure they're going to tell us a little bit more about it, but the gears in my head right now are turning with the possibilities right now.
So it came as a surprise to the Foundation when the hat suddenly disappeared from secure containment, replaced by a note reading, "Thanks, I needed my hat back, LS." Who was this mysterious LS? And was the anomaly truly theirs prior to containment? Scientists, security officials, and administrators hoped this would be an isolated incident, but LS was far from done. And even worse for the Foundation, LS was now armed with a perfect anomalous tool to make their next containment breach even smoother. The next incident was known as Security Breach Incident X-23 and was committed against the extremely valuable Site-19, the largest Foundation site there is. Most humiliating of all for the Foundation security team working there, security footage indicated that LS simply strolled into the base without being noticed. SCP-268 was working wonders.
Yeah, see, so you could just walk right through or around a group of people and not have them notice, which means he probably walked in the front door as someone else opened the door to go in, and he just kind of, you know, followed him in, grabbed the door, and just went in, and no one paid attention to what he was doing. Okay.
This time LS had a new target, SCP-914, an anomalous machine also known as the Clockworks. This machine, originally tested by the famously emotionalist Dr. Charles Gears, has the ability to refine any object placed into its chambers into a greater version of their original selves.
Ooh, we covered this. We covered the machine and the possibilities that the machine provides. Oh, okay. All right. You want to talk about the gears in my head going? Now it's really going.
Often with strange and anomalous results. You can probably see why someone wanting to utilize anomalies for their own gain would take such a keen interest in this one. LS breezed past the guards, inexplicably destroyed the file for SCP-407, a taped song that causes unchecked cellular growth, and made their way towards 914.
Okay, all right. I think I remember hearing about that when we covered the Song of Genesis video. That the song eventually got destroyed. So apparently the Serpent's Hand were the people who destroyed the Song of Genesis. Interesting. Interesting though. Because
Unfortunately, a researcher who was working on 914 was murdered by LS during the breach. We have no idea what they did with 914. Perhaps they refined 268 to act as an even more effective stealth tool, without its unpleasant side effects. Maybe they made the daring move of refining themselves. We'll never know. All we do know is that this time, LS left a letter. It was long, rambling, and philosophical, with no incriminating information that could be used to identify the mysterious figure. They signed off the letter with, "I leave you with one final truth. The garden is the serpent's place. The divinities of fear and order who come to walk in the cool evening air are only visitors. Do not fail to see the evil hiding in the light, nor the aromatic beauty of the palest flower of darkness. Signed sincerely, LS." These repeated references to the Serpent clued the Foundation in on the affiliation of this new troublemaker, a growing group of interest named the Serpents Hand. But really, who are the Serpents Hand? What do they want? What is their connection to other active groups of interest, like the Chaos Insurgency and...
right, see, these are the primary groups of interest that I keep seeing right here. So why we're hitting these. I got a theory though about the Clockworks machine. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm still formulating this theory in my head. Let's see how it plays out with the rest of the video.
and the Global Code Coalition. And was this mysterious LS figure the leader of the group, or just another agent? These were all the questions on the minds of the Foundation's best and brightest tactical thinkers, but the answers didn't come easy. During the Serpent's Hand's investigations, the Foundation found an unlikely ally in what is usually one of their biggest opponents, the Global Occult Coalition. The GOC had dealt with the Serpent's Hand before and understood their central philosophy. Whereas the Foundation and the GOC were both committed to acting in secret and maintaining a sense of normality, the Serpent's Hand wanted the exact opposite. They wanted to destroy the secrecy around the anomalous and supernatural and reveal the existence of it all to the general public. While the Foundation and the GOC think this is crazy, the Serpent's Hand aren't just insane architects who want to unleash chaos across the world. In fact, they actually have some pretty interesting points. The Serpent's Hand acknowledges that the supernatural can be dangerous, but much like natural disasters and crime, will the public benefit from not knowing about them?
That's a reasonable question. It's definitely a reasonable question. Like you said, like natural weather phenomenons, natural disasters, clearly knowledge save lives. Weather early warning predictions we know have saved millions of lives. Knowing that a hurricane is coming can save lives. So on one hand, the knowledge of anomalous beings and items being out in the world, I don't know, man, that's a double-edged sword because on one hand, for instance, if everybody knew about anomalies, they could take steps to protect themselves. On the other hand, the more people that know about these anomalous items or beings, the more people are going to want to use them or get their hands on them. Essentially, the more people that know about this stuff, the more opportunities for this stuff to be used incorrectly, wrong. So, on this particular argument, I think I'm going to have to side with the GOC and the SCP Foundation. I think this stuff should be kept under wraps simply for safety, man. I mean, if every deranged individual was able to get a hold of an SCP, it'd be crazy.
Members of the Serpent's Hand also fight for the rights of non-violent anomalous entities, particularly sentient and sapient beings. They find the Foundation's habit of containing them and the GOC's habit of killing them barbaric, and will openly use and collaborate with anomalies to further their goals. Like how LS is a keen operator of 268 for their infiltration missions. At least 177 individuals belonging to the Serpent's Hand have been identified, many of which who have actively performed raids on Foundation sites across the globe. It was a mystery to the Foundation how
So many. So they've performed many raids on the SCP Foundation, but I have noticed one thing they failed to mention about the Serpent's Hand is any type of military power. They haven't even talked about them even carrying weapons. So it's kind of baffling how they can raid so many places with no military force. And yeah, I get it. They've got the hat, but that's one hat. How can you raid places all over the world with one hat? Because that would mean you would only have one person to do any of this stuff at any given time.
such a small number of members could run rings around them and seemingly be everywhere at once.
Yeah, see, exactly what you just said. How can such a small number of people be in so many places at once and be so effective at infiltration? I'm tweaking my theory in my head.
Until a revelation was delivered by the Global Occult Coalition. The Serpent's Hand have an informal headquarters in an anomalous location known as the Wanderer's Library, an ancient and seemingly limitless archive containing every book from every dimension in the multiverse. This location exists outside of space and time, and can be accessed through a global network of interdimensional portals known as the Ways. Like a supernatural guerrilla soldier, members of the Serpent's Hand would exit from one of the Ways, raid a Foundation or GOC site, and then escape back into another one of the Ways, using the Wanderer's Library as a safe zone. The library was a convenient way to access and steal from sites worldwide with impunity, increasing their stock of anomalous items and beings each time. While performing raids and stealing anomalies feel like textbook chaos insurgency behavior, the Serpent's Hand.
They said that. Wait, did they say that the library can access other dimensions or other worlds? Oh, that changes everything. Oh, that changes everything. Oh my. That explains so much. Okay, no, I get it. No, I get it. If they're able to go to other worlds and steal stuff from other worlds, then they most definitely, right? They've got to have more than one hat. Right? If they can steal anomalies from parallel dimensions, why not steal the hat? Why not steal a hat for everybody in your group, right? Go to every dimension that has a hat and steal one for everybody.
And have an extremely frosty relationship with the insurgency too, often seeing them as greedy, erratic, and short-sighted. The Serpent's Hand has a series of catchy nicknames for its various foes. It refers to the Foundation as the Jailers, the GOC as the Bookburners, and the Chaos Insurgency as the Madmen. The Foundation even formed a new task force, known as the Bookworms, explicitly for Serpent's Hand-related missions. While the Foundation has engaged in a number of raids and skirmishes on the Serpent's Hand since their feud began, they've never been able to gather any information about who gives the orders. Only the Global Occult Coalition have been able to successfully perform a raid on the Wanderer's Library, an act that was extremely difficult and costly. It also earned the GOC a spot as the Serpent's Hand's public enemy #1, a role the Foundation isn't eager to take from them. With the unlimited knowledge present in the Wanderer's Library and the mysterious nature of their command structure, this group manages to be a formidable enemy for the Foundation despite its small size. What the Foundation doesn't know is that there actually is no command structure for the Serpent's Hand. They're a decentralized group of splinter cells and lone wolves acting out a philosophy rather than a specific mission. This way of working is so alien to the highly regimented structures of the Foundation and the GOC, it's no surprise that they're stumped by it. This still leaves us with one more question central to the whole mystery.
Right.
If not the leader of this organization, who exactly
is LS?
LS? To answer this, we must return once more to Dr. Charles Ogden Gears, the cold and robotic Foundation scientist in charge of...
Dr. Gears, it's you again. Okay. All right. I got a theory, and I think it explains things.
SCP-914 research. If all the ways Dr. Gears has been described so far has made you think he wouldn't be a particularly warm and loving father, you'd be absolutely right. Just ask his estranged daughter, Allison Chow. Allison never forgave Gears for abandoning her and her mother, and she now does everything she can to get revenge on him and his precious Foundation. But here's the problem. The Gears of this dimension is not the only one who has a child with an axe to grind. Gears has been a deadbeat dad in a number of dimensions, so much so that these disgruntled daughters converge in the Wanderer's Library to plot their revenge across dimensions together. This collective of Allison Chows, sometimes believed to just be one Allison, is known to the Foundation as the Black Queen. However, they themselves more commonly refer to their daughter support group turned terrorist organization as the Little Sisters.
Little Sisters.
Or, if you'd prefer, the abbreviation LS. While the Serpent's Hand has no leader, the Little Sisters are some of its most devoted and dangerous warriors. They're intelligent, coordinated, and, due to their obsession with Dr. Gears, personally invested in hitting the Foundation where it hurts. After all, that's what the Serpent's Hand is all about. Striking out against the oppressors who keep a stranglehold on the truth. throwing off the chains imposed by the Foundation and the violence visited upon anomalies by the Global Occult Coalition. If the Serpent's Hand gets their way, one day there may be a glorious world where humans and anomalies knowingly coexist. It is a nice thing to imagine, utopian even. But the Foundation's greatest concern about the Serpent's Hand isn't that they're evil, it is that they're naive. While the Serpent's Hand don't wish to usher in the apocalypse, it doesn't mean they won't by complete accident. Their kindness and understanding towards anomalies may one day make them a perfect band of useful idiots for an entity with far darker intentions. And one day, they may just release something that would really be better locked away.
Okay, so here we go. So it does allow them to traverse multiple parallel dimensions. Now, what I think they've done is they have taken multiple hats from multiple different realities so that as many members of their Serpent's Hand group as possible has a hat. Now, here's where my theory kicks in, okay? Aside from them stealing hats, because I think that sounds like a given, right? That they would have more than one hat. Here's what I think. I think the incident, what was it? Incident X23, right? Where they broke into the Foundation and they used the clockwork machine and destroyed the Song of Genesis. In the video, if I recall correctly, they said, well, maybe they threw the hat into the clockwork machine to make a better version of the hat that doesn't have the negative side effect. Because if all the little sisters are wearing hats and they wear them all the time or to go on their raids or whatever, eventually they'll start, they wouldn't be able to function cohesively because they couldn't interact with each other. So here's what I think they've done. I don't think they put the hat into the clockworks. You could put the hat into the clockworks and have it pop out as a better hat that doesn't have negative side effects. I don't think that's what they did. I think, because that would only fix one hat out of their entire group. I think they destroyed the Song of Genesis, but what they actually did was they made a copy of it and they put it into the clockworks and took it with them to the library. I think they took the Song of Genesis and improved it so that you could either A, listen to it for longer without receiving its negative effects, or they remove the negative effects entirely. But because the Song of Genesis can basically heal anything, what if the improved version of the Song of Genesis could actually reverse the negative effects of other SCPs? What if they took and improved the Song of Genesis so that they could wear their hats as much and as long as they wanted to, and then they could cure themselves. They could cure all of themselves because it's a song. They could all listen to it at once, or they could have it on loop in the library, or they could have a special room in the library where once you finish a mission and you've been wearing your hat for a long time, you go hang out in the room for however long they've decided will cure you, and bam, no negative side effects to the hat for any number of the little sisters. So you could have thousands, hundreds of thousands of little sisters, all with their own hats, and yet you could set it up so that none of them are permanently negatively affected by the hat. I think that's my theory. I think that's what they did. And I think they destroyed the Song of Genesis so no one else could have it. Yeah, I think they modified the Song of Genesis to cure themselves of the negative effects of the hats. That way, they could raid as often and anywhere they want. That's my theory. So, Serpent's Hand, pretty cool. They are certainly different than the Foundation and the Global Occult Coalition and the Chaos Insurgency. So far, the four groups, the Foundation wants to contain, the GOC wants to destroy, right? The uh, Chaos Insurgency want to use anomalies, and the Serpent's Hand basically wants to free anomalies. So we've got contain, destroy, use, and free. Okay. Okay. I kind of see how they could push and pull against each other, kind of fighting over anomalies and whatnot. I do think their whole Wanderer's Library thing is kind of interesting. Um, Depending on the amount of knowledge they have, and the fact that they can basically open portals to any dimension while having their hats to remain invisible, it might make them one of the dangerous groups I've seen yet. While the GOC is massive and well armed, kinda doesn't matter if you don't know what you're shooting at, does it? Anyways, guys, really interesting. Uh, I really enjoyed doing it, and I think we're almost through most of the larger groups of interest in the SCP universe. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let me know what SCP we should check out next. And like SCP-001. I've seen at least 3 or 4 videos all titled SCP-001, so um not sure what's up with 01. But yeah, guys, until next time, take care of yourself and have a great day.